Welcome to Two Chicks and a Horror Flick, a weekly horror movie review podcast. I'm Tawny Ray.
And I'm Felicia Connor. Subscribe to get new episodes every Wednesday. We dive into trivia, drink a little whiskey, and of course, give our no BS opinions.
Join our Discord server or message us on social media to talk all things scary.
And if you like the show, consider supporting us on Patreon.
You can find all these links on our website, twochicksandahorrorflick.com. Thanks for listening.
Now let's get scared.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today, we are going to be talking about tarot from 2024. But on top of that, we have a very special episode because we have a very special guest, Saleema, who is a thriller author. Yay. Welcome, Saleema.
Yay! Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're stoked. And this is a first. We've never had an author on, obviously, other than Miriam, on the pod, but as a guest. And so I think this will be really an awesome conversation. I'm really looking forward to it.
And tarot.
Yes. And Saleema has a book coming out. She'll tell you all about it, but very, very excited. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll get into that here in a little bit. But before we get started, let's talk about what we're drinking. So Saleema, as our guest, I'm going to kick it to you first. What are you drinking?
So I've got some sparkly water here, and then I've got a little mocktail. The flavor is called Beaming Joy, which sounds very exciting. It kind of tastes like bubble gum. And yeah, just feeling a little bubbly.
I love the sound of that, actually. Bubblegum. Do you remember the kids' toothpaste that was like...
Yes.
I used to love that. And I don't think I would want to use it now, but...
Remember the ice cream?
Oh, yeah. And it had the bubblegum pieces in it, like the little chunks. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
so
I forgot
good.
about that.
You wouldn't want to brush your teeth with the bubble because I have done it before when I was looking for toothpaste, and TT had it. And so I used it and I was like, oh,
yeah.
it's not good.
Yeah, as an adult, I feel like that would be too much, but yeah. Okay, Miriam, what are you drinking?
I am drinking my big old Stanley full of liquid IV, fruit punch flavored.
Nice.
I'm really addicted to those. Love them.
Nice. Staying hydrated?
Staying hydrated, double the hydration.
I too am staying hydrated with water. I really need to get a third Nalgene because I really only have two that I swap back and forth with, and I feel like it looks like I never wash my bottles. Anyway, I do. Everybody, I just need you to know I wash them and then I just alternate, but I need a third one. Anyway, but that's what I'm drinking right now. But earlier, I'm excited to talk about, I had my magic mind. So earlier this morning, I got up and just started doing some Sunday chore stuff. Like Jade and I usually do that on Sunday mornings. And then I sat down to do research for this movie. And I was like, oh, why am I so tired? All of a sudden. And I think part of it was that I stayed up late playing Cult of the Lamb. So which is a very fun, very cute little game if you're into farming simulators. And I think it's called a roguelike video game. Super fun, super cute. But anyway, stayed up late. So I was tired. And then I was like, oh, I didn't actually drink my magic mind. So I went and pulled it out of the fridge, had my magic mind for the day. And then it was so much easier to sit down and actually focus, do the research for this movie. So I was very grateful for that.
Oh my gosh. So I had I was going to say exact same experience, but it was totally different, but similar is what I meant to say. Last night was the first night in a very, very, very long time, I think several months, that it was only me and Steve. All the kids were off doing their activities, slumber parties and stuff like that. So we had a beautiful dinner, and then I got him to watch The Substance. So we watched that entire thing. I was up super late, tossed and turned when I was trying to sleep. And when I woke up, I was like, oh my gosh, I am so drained. I'm going to have to nap. I want to be on point because we have Saleema. We're talking about tarot. And I was like, oh, wait, I'll just take my magic mind. And it did. It worked. It's perfect.
Nice. Yes, that's amazing. Something cool that I do want to mention as far as ingredients is that the matcha in in Magic Mind is like the highest possible grade, which is organic ceremonial grade matcha. Has very different ceremony type stuff than in this movie, just for the record, not like astrology or divination. But if Magic Mind were a tarot card, Miriam, what do you think it would be?
Oh, I like that. That's clever. Okay. If Magic Mind was a tarot card, I would pick the sun. That's the first thing that came to my mind, because I believe that's the card, and correct me if I'm wrong, Saleema, with the little babe on the horse in the sun, and it's bright and refreshing looking and happy and full of joy. And that's pretty much how I feel when I drink Magic Mind. So I would pick the sun. What about you, Tawny?
I don't know what you're talking about with a baby on a horse. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's a baby on a horse.
Is this like a cherub on a horse?
Yes, I like a little like babe in the sun.
Okay, all right. We're going to have to verify that. Okay. Well, I am going to say the magician because, obviously it's magic.
Magic. I love that.
Yes. Because that's all I can think of. So if you want to get your hands on some Magic Mind, you can go to magicmind.com/chicks20, CHICKS 20. And that gets you up to 48% off of your first subscription for the next 10 days or 20% off of a one-time purchase.
Oh, I love that. That was such a great question. I'm glad I could think of something. All right. So I would love for everybody to get to know Saleema a little bit more. So, Saleema, tell us a little bit about you and what you have going on.
Yeah, so I am a thriller author, and my first novel, full-length novel, is coming out. Sisters Arcana comes out on December 12th, and I've got a copy right here. It's got a tarot card on it, of course. Blood splattered across the tarot card. And when I started writing this book, I actually didn't really know much about tarot at all. That was part of my research and part of why I wanted to write it. My writing is inspired by my fears. And tarot, I've always been into oracle cards. I feel like oracle cards are a little more whimsical, inspirational, and tarot cards always scared me because of the death card, and just it felt a little frightening. So that's why I decided to write this, because I wanted to face my fears and do more research about tarot, and I learned a lot along the way.
Wow, I love that.
Love that. I totally get what you're saying, because I have way too many oracle decks. I actually have one that I have that. Pull. Isn't it beautiful? It's just like a lot of, just like you said, more guidance. Where I remember I grew up, my mom did tarot cards. I mean, she did it as a job, even, where people would seek her guidance, and I learned how to do tarot. But I remember I was always really nervous of it because of that element of I don't know if I want to know. And I could see also how people, when they would go to my mom, it was like for everything. Like it was almost like they couldn't make a decision on their own. They needed guidance. And so I was always really, I know how to do it, but I don't do it often. And I think I'll tell you one thing. When I was a teenager, I had a boyfriend, and my mom did a tarot reading for me, and it said that he was cheating on me with a blonde-haired girl, and he was. And so you could think, oh, that's good because I broke up with him and all that, but it actually really scared me. Like I was like, I don't know what if it tells me, because that was a really hard time. It wasn't like, oh, this must be true. And no, I stressed about it. I worried about it. Then I found out it was true. And then that was emotional, as a teen. And so I thought to myself, gosh, I don't know if I want to know. So I didn't do them for the longest time.
Yeah, that makes sense. The fear of actually knowing.
Yeah. Or what if I think it's saying something and I misread it? I'm sorry, Saleema. I'm getting all like riled up now. And then I think it's saying something and now I'm all stressed about it. So anyway.
No, totally. I absolutely understand that. I mean, that really like the overall theme of the movie tarot too. I feel like, and I'm sure we'll definitely talk about that, but just whether we have agency in our lives or whether the cards are, the word, and whether this is something that whether they can tell our fate, really.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I know that was a large part of the movie, especially in the end, which we'll get to. But
yeah, it's really curious because my mom also does annual charts where it pulls from your astrology and tells you what's going to happen. So here's the thing. I could go to a day on that printout she gives me, and it kind of aligns exactly with how I'm feeling. So that scares me too, because I'm like, do we have agency?
Yeah.
All right, guys, sorry to scare everybody.
Whoa.
No, I love this. Thanks for sharing.
Oh, yeah.
I know. I'm scared of a lot, but I've never thought to be scared of those things. So that makes
definitely
sense.
The Ouija board, right?
Yeah, I've never messed with the Ouija board for that
Don't.
reason. Yeah.
Don't do it. My little one went to a slumber party and she's like, they had a Ouija board, Mom. And we were kind of messing with it. And I said, well, you should have told me before I picked you up, because I don't want you bringing that shit home with you.
Seriously.
You're going to stay there, actually.
But Saleema, so you're a thriller writer. So you like thriller. Do you like horror? And tell us what it is that you like about thrillers and horror.
Yeah. Well, so my favorite horror genre is psychological horror. I love psychological thrillers, and I feel like horror and thriller are very like adjacent. As I said, my writing is inspired by my fears, and facing my fears has been a really big part of my therapy. I was diagnosed with OCD not too long ago, within the last couple of years as an adult. I've lived with it my whole life. But because of that, even reading mysteries, suspense, anything really existential, which I know, as we know, horror and thrillers really rely on those big questions, that uncertainty and the unknown, that would make me spiral. So it was really hard to read the suspense that I enjoyed as a kid. And even trailers sometimes on TV would completely freak me out. So within the last few years, I've been using this as a tool for my OCD. Exposure and response prevention therapy is the gold standard for OCD. So it started out as watching like the scene from The Sixth Sense where he finds out he's dead, and watching that, and then just looking at pictures of the Milky Way and thinking about how small we are in this big universe, those existential things that really, really scare me, just exposing myself to it. So it started out as consuming these books, movies, TV shows, and then it turned into writing my own. So if you told me like 5 years ago that I would be publishing a psychological thriller, that I'd be on a horror podcast, I would not have believed you. But I'm so excited to be here. I feel like I've come a long way and grown as a person. And it's not just something that I see as like homework. It's something that I enjoy.
Wow, that's so cool. Like, yeah. I also got diagnosed with OCD last year, and it is something that I've dealt with my whole life. Mine's a little bit different in the way that it's like health related type stuff, but that's so cool that made such a big change. Like, just to hear you say that, like the sort of exposure therapy and just even, watching going from being afraid to watch trailers to like writing your own thrill, that's like such a huge difference in such a small amount of time. That's really incredible. And they mentioned that to me. They mentioned exposure therapy, and I was all, no, I don't want to do that. I was like, no, I don't think that. I was like, that sounds terrible. No, thank you. But maybe it's good to do.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing though, because there's so many different flavors of OCD. And my protagonist in Sisters Arcana lives with OCD as well. That was one of the things that I really wanted to incorporate was mental health. And mental health representation. But yeah,
Oh,
ERP is hard, but highly recommend.
Oh, I'm so excited to read your book. I feel like that's so cool because I've only read one other book with a character who had OCD, and I don't know. I was kind of like I was like, I don't know if this is quite it, I don't know if this is like written by somebody who knows what that's like. I don't know. It was just like a little bit of a disconnect, but
totally a lot. Yeah. And a lot of them don't hit the mark, which is kind of unfortunate, but I was nervous about that. I was super nervous for my OCD community to read this, but I've already received a couple of ARC reviews that either people that don't have anxiety or OCD have read it and have felt like, oh, I felt really anxious this entire novel. I'm like, okay, mission accomplished. And that individuals living with OCD have appreciated the representation. So yeah, Tanya, you'll have to let me know what you think.
Yeah. Oh, so exciting.
Thanks.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that with all of us.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Well, of course.
It is something that we talk about here and there. Like I think in its own way, watching horror movies for sure for me is some kind of level of exposure therapy. And I tell this story all the time and people are like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. When I was a kid, there's a scene in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I don't know if you watched that or if you remember, Large Marge was very scary. And so like as like a 10-year-old, I was like mad. I like didn't want to be scared by that anymore. And so I actually made myself watch it over and over again. I like did exposure therapy for myself as a tiny child.
Yeah.
And when I tell people that story, they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense now that you like to watch horror movies so much. But I am sort of like, well, it probably helped,
Yeah, you were doing it yourself. I love that.
Yeah, we have talked about mental health a lot and different areas of mental health from our experiences. So we really appreciate that point of view. I think this would very much be true crime for me because I had experienced violence and trauma as a child. And so I got into this mode of learning more and more true crime stories as I realize I'm not going to say that, as a way to protect myself. Mm-hmm. And you could say it's a false sense of security, but I won't do what that person did in that particular situation, at least. Right. And so learning about that in as a way to protect myself, but it does have its drawbacks because now, like when my 10-year-old wants to go to the park, I'm literally filled with dread when she asks me to go to the park. And then my husband has to go, it's okay. And I'm like, but it might not be. And so then we go through that and then I let her go to the park. So I don't know.
That's exposure therapy for you.
Yeah. Her going to the park is exposure therapy for me. Oh gosh. Hope it never goes wrong. I need more exposure therapy when it comes to that stuff for sure. I never thought of it that way. I've always loved scary movies and scary books. They were just a way to escape. And my parents always scared me. Always. They were so young. They were 20 and they just always scared me. And I think when I was little, I was terrified all the time. And I don't know, maybe now it's comforting. It's nostalgic now, maybe. I don't know.
That makes sense too.
Yeah.
Saleema, I have a question. As a thriller author, like, do you have a favorite or a couple favorites or just any that come to mind as far as like psychological horror movies? And we very much, as a podcast, are proponents of thrillers being under the horror umbrella.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. So probably my favorite, well, I don't know. I mean, this is psychological, but it's also an adventure horror, but The Descent.
Oh yeah. We love The Descent.
That super fucked me up. Oh, am I allowed to say?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That movie. Okay. I forgot to ask that question. That movie fucked me up.
Yeah.
Oh God,
that's
so good.
Yeah. Yeah. And the existential, like that last scene. Oof.
Ooh, got chills.
That's a great pick. Great pick.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of our golden fives. It's one of the episodes that we both gave it a 5. And so top.
Tawny had seen it before and she recommended it. And yeah, that was great. I loved that movie. So you kind of touched on it, but anything else you want to add on why you chose this movie in particular?
The main reason was just the tarot involvement. The trailer got me too. I felt like I was engaged and definitely wanted to see. I know that you'll have all the facts as well, all the trivia throughout, but I know that this movie was based on a book. So that was another reason why, while I was kind of brainstorming and hunting around for what plot and setting and story I wanted to create with tarot cards, I was chatting with my husband because he's like the most supportive person ever. And we always brainstorm together. And so I said, I'm going to write about tarot because it scares me. I'm going to do this research. And he was like, what about this idea? And he basically gave spouted off like, what if there's a killer and this and this? And it was kind of the storyline for tarot and horoscope. And I was like, I've just been done before. I can't do that. But I really like where this story took me. I had an idea of where I wanted it to go when I started writing it, but I also did a lot of writing sprints with our writing community that Miriam and I are part of, and just things came forward that I didn't expect. So it took a lot of twists and turns that I was really pleased with.
I know you've written short stories, but I do want to just take a moment to say congratulations. What a feat. Finishing a novel. It's being published. It's it's going live. I don't know. It's publishing. It's releasing in just a couple of weeks. This is so incredible. Just really, really amazing job. And I hope you really have taken time to celebrate yourself. This is just an amazing accomplishment. So excited for it.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, it still doesn't feel real. I mean, I'm holding it and I'm like, need to pinch myself all the time, but yeah.
It's incredible.
Awesome. Okay. Should we get into this movie?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. Yes, chef. Okay. Okay. So again, we're talking about tarot from 2024. The directors, 2 of them, were Spenser Cohen and Anna Halberg. I looked these people up to see if they had done movies that I had seen before, and they've both, I think, been a part of like The Expendables 4, and I can't remember any of the other ones, but like it seems like they are kind of a team. I tried to look them up to see if they were related, married, I don't know, just business partners. I couldn't really tell. So who knows? That in itself is a mystery. But there we go. So then for cast, we have Harriet Slater, who plays Haley, our main character, our main protagonist, I guess. Aidan Bradley plays Grant. Jacob Batalon, I don't know how to say that, plays Paxton. This is the guy who was in Spider-Man. I really love this actor. He's very
love
fun.
Him.
Yeah, I was excited to see him in here. I was like,
what did he do in Spider-Man?
He's like his best friend, the newer Spider-Man.
Okay.
Spider-Man. I don't know. You guys, I can't do words today, apparently. But he's his friend, the ones with Tom Holland. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
Okay. She's like, no, it's not.
I've seen some of them. Which one is Paxton again?
He's the one he's like the vaping guy. He's like always vaping, and he's jokester. Yeah.
Oh, the jokester. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, the fool, if you will.
Yes.
Okay. So then we have Avantika plays Paige. Humberly Gonzalez plays Madeline. Wolfgang Novogratz plays Lucas. We have a big group of friends here. Larson Thompson plays Elise, and Olwen, oh God, I don't know how to say this. Forel. It's a very French name.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, do you like how I just rolled it out? Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm giving up on that last name.
If that's not how you pronounce it, he or she?
She.
she may want to use that name now moving forward. You did a great job.
You just trail off. No, it's Foure, but the E's have accents and it looks French. I don't know. That person played Alma, and she looked familiar to me. It's because she was in the 2022. Jesus, I can't get it together today. Sorry. She was in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake from 2022.
Yeah.
As
okay.
Sally.
Wait.
Yeah.
But okay, I said this to Steve. Isn't she the final girl from Texas Chainsaw Massacre now as an older woman? I thought she was in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre as a young girl. And then she came back in the new TCM.
I don't
know. Because I was telling Steve, I was like, that's the girl from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I was just making up stuff. I was making up stories. Yeah.
I don't know.
I was
going to try to look it up real quick, but I'm not as...
You keep going. I'll look. You keep going.
Yeah. I'm not as good at you. Oh my God. I'm not as good as you at like looking stuff up while I'm talking through stuff. So thank you for doing that. Okay.
And just so you know, I did look up the sun card and there is a little baby on the horse. So
okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Cherub baby.
I'm sorry that I made fun of it. Okay, so budget for this was $8 million and box office was $49 million. So it definitely did well.
Ooh.
A box office success. And then finally for scores, we have IMDb gives this a 4.8 out of 10, Rotten Tomatoes a 17%, and Letterboxd a 2 out of 5. So generally pretty low scores.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
The whole thing about the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre I made up.
Okay.
She was not in. She was just in the new one.
she was just her in the movie because
Yeah.
she was her in the movie later. Anyway,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Here we are. So now
Here we
let's
are.
do a quick round of how we all felt about this movie. So Saleema, we'll start with you again as our guest, as our distinguished guest. Overall, how did you feel about this movie?
Overall, I found it entertaining. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. Yeah.
That's fair.
It's a great description.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I felt. So I don't know if you were going to ask me to go next. I had fun. I had fun with it. I went in with really low expectations, only thinking, because typically when I see there's a movie, I don't know who any of the actors are. You know, the visuals looked pretty cool in the trailer, like you were saying, Saleema, but I was like, I don't know. But it I'm here for it. I was in a good mood, had my magic mind. I was ready to roll. And I had a good time. I mean, yeah. Love it, just like Saleema said.
I agree with both of you. I am in the same place. Like, I went in with very low expectations only because I had seen some early chatter or buzz about this not being very good. Like, right when it, I think, came out, people went to see it and were like, this is not worth your time. It's not that good. And it wasn't until Mark, one of our podcast friends from A Podcast on Elm Street, said that it was worth a watch that I was like, okay, maybe. But I still went in with kind of low expectations. But I think it helps that the last movie we talked about and reviewed, we absolutely hated. So this one, I had a fun time with because there are some similarities, I think. Like the movie starting out with these friends sitting around and talking around a fire. I was like, oh, God, cool. At least this is not just a spinning camera around teens doing with terrible dialogue. Some of the dialogue isn't great, but it was way better than our last movie, so which is In a Violent Nature. I don't know why I was trying to save it from we shit all over that movie.
Yeah, we did.
So
did you?
Yes. I found your episode probably more entertaining than the movie was.
Yes, that's amazing.
Thank you. That's a great review.
Oh.
I thought the same thing. I did think, I was like, I probably helped that we hated that other movie so deeply that this was fun. But I think it was fun. You didn't do a little summary. We totally don't have to, but
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I did forget about that. So
there's all these kids, they find tarot cards, they do readings. Everyone who has a reading dies, and then they have to find their way out of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
there we go.
Turn back now if you don't want it spoiled for you.
Oops.
Because I'm gonna ruin the end.
I just
That's okay.
Sure, you could cut that out.
But I don't know. But you did the setup. Anybody that's what this movie is about, and everybody knows it. But at the end, they find out that a woman made these tarot cards, and she did a death pact or something. So she killed herself and put a curse essentially on these cards, so that anybody who gets a reading from the cards dies. And it was because she was mad because they killed her daughter. They were real terrible to her. So
I was her fan.
Exacting revenge.
After I heard the story, I was like, okay, I'm going to let Saleema share some of her favorite moments where she would like to start. I'm just because I started it, I'm just going to say, when I found out what the story was, I was like, I would be tearing everybody up. yeah, of course. Oh, I was like her fan, which is actually really good because it just solidified. Oh, hell yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get this. Mm-hmm. I would be fucking everybody up with my witchy self. Hell yeah, I would. Yeah. So,
Agreed.
I got it.
Yeah, agreed. That part, it was kind of a roller coaster. There were moments where I was like, ooh, this is, after the first killing, I was like, ooh, this is good. And then it was like, oh, I don't know. I'm losing interest a little bit. And then the story, it was like, I'm looking at my notes.
No, it's perfect. I have mine here. So
Mexico, 1951. And I was like, oh yeah, this is good. But it was kind of a roller coaster.
Yeah. But I liked this part too. This is one of my favorite parts actually, is the premise. It's the story of this. It's a simple story, but I really like when things are simple, but they're executed well. And I think that it was done well here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she just wanted to kill everyone. Such intense grief. And I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
It
wasn't her fault. Okay. She was just the channel through which she was telling this man the future.
What a beautiful, beautiful, just that whole sequence of the past where, the story of that family, and then her and her daughter out in nature, and they're trying to rebuild their life. And then I felt teary-eyed when she just discovered her daughter and the grief that she was feeling. I just thought all of this was very beautifully acted. The scenery was beautiful. It was just really wonderfully executed. And then she killed herself, and the blood in the cards. Yeah. Loved it.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of this movie that I thought was I really enjoyed a lot of the angles and the cinematography. There were a couple of when they're in the refrigerator at the very beginning and they pan to the last beer, because that's why they have to go down there and get the tarot cards, is because they ran out of alcohol. And then when she's grabbing the keys to go drive, and they zoom in. So there were a lot of scenes and shots that I thought were pretty.
I agreed totally. And I think that's my favorite part of the movie, is I really enjoyed this combo of the art direction, but the lighting and the cinematography, like you're saying, had a really interesting feel. It was really oh God, I'm going to do a bad job of explaining this, but it was highly stylized because all the colors of the lights were really, vibrant and saturated and stuff, but it was in a way shiny or poppy or something. And it was fun from that perspective. It felt sort of, it wasn't a self-aware movie. And I think that's what I expected going into it. And that's what made it more of a fun watch, is it knew that it was sort of delivering to you a very well used trope, but it was having fun while it was doing it. And the style of it, I thought, was really fun. And even just at the very end with the end credits and stuff, I was like, yeah, like I'm feeling the vibe of this movie.
Agreed. Yeah. And it was fun that they incorporated modern touches to this trope that, you know, it felt very much like I wrote down Cabin in the Woods meets Final Destination. That's what it felt a lot like to me, but it felt very modern too, with like the, you know, being or whatever was around them, around the car on the bridge, and the car being able to sense where it was. Like that was a very modern twist to something that have seen a lot, but it made it fun.
I did like that too. That was a really fun thing that we've never seen, or I don't think I've ever seen in a movie.
I really loved the monsters or the tarot beasts. I thought I wanted to see more of them.
Me too.
I thought it was, I just loved them. I thought they were super creepy. I found myself when I was watching, just like Saleema said, kind of like ups and downs. But whenever the new tarot monster was going to appear, I was like really dialed in to see everything I could possibly see, because it's a very dark movie, lighting wise dark. And the first watch, it was during the day. And so I was really having trouble seeing some of it. So I watched it again so that I could really get a look at all of those tarot monsters. And I just loved them. I wished with the very first one was I don't remember what she was.
High Priestess.
Okay, I was about to say High Priestess. I'm like, no, I don't think that's right.
She was my favorite.
Oh yeah, I loved her. I wished she would have killed the girl versus just using the ladder.
Yeah.
Just because I wanted to see more of her, and I wanted her to be more in the shot and more in the girl's face, because I just really liked her so much. But it was fine. I just wished it was a little more than her just killing her with the ladder.
Yeah, I thought I liked that a little bit because it was kind of creative, but I agree. I wanted to see more of her. She kept popping up on my TikTok, and I really didn't want to watch too many spoilers, but everybody was so excited about the High Priestess. So I was like, yes, this is going to be great. And she came in first. She was the first kill. And I was like, ooh, this is going to be so good. And yeah, I wish that we'd seen more of her for sure.
I love the sound, like when it just like, oh, it was so good. Mm-hmm. I want to say one thing that made me giggle. So when the cops were talking to all the kids, this is like fast forward a little bit, but the cops are talking to them all. And he's like, you know, the cop says, you know, these are just accidents. We have no reason to believe that there's any, you know, like it's a homicide or anything like that. I'm like, okay, wait. The girl was smashed multiple times with the ladder. How is this not suspicious?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Did you do an autopsy? Because she clearly had some bones broken in her back due to the sounds. Like, I'm assuming from the sounds.
Like multiple times. That was not an accident.
Yeah.
That made me laugh. I was like, what? They're in on it. It immediately made me think, oh, they're in on it, because that's absurd. But nope, that was just the decision. Okay.
That was a good thought. That didn't even occur to me. Yeah.
Too much true crime I watch. I was like, that scene. Because I even said, as I do at the end, oh, how are they going to get away with this? But then she even said that. Do you think they'll believe us? I said, no. You guys better figure this shit out, because it looks like you killed all your friends in this house. So
seriously.
Yeah. I kind of thought, just piggybacking off of that, I kind of thought it from the very beginning of the tarot reading section. I thought that her like boyfriend, was it Grant? Haley's boyfriend, I thought that he was going to be in on it, because she was like, you're going down a dark road. Yes. And if you don't stop this, like, you'll lose the person that you love most. And I don't know, I just kept expecting that to be the reveal, like for it to be revealed that he was somehow related. But I'm glad that didn't happen, because I like what we got instead. And I think that would have really muddied up the story.
Yeah, I do kind of wish that they had gone a little bit further with that subplot, because it didn't feel like there were very many subplots aside from that like romance breakup. And it did contribute to the end in a way, but yeah, I wanted more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I thought maybe he was going to get possessed or something was going to happen more, a little darker with him. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't happen, guys, in case everyone's wondering, it didn't.
I was kind of confused about the terminology. Oh, I did learn, though. I didn't realize that astrology and tarot were so like closely linked, or that what did they say? That it's the most powerful divination. Like when they kept saying do tarot, or sorry, rather when they kept saying do horoscopes, like that terminology kept confusing me. So I did have to do some digging, and I was like, people do horoscopes? I thought it was you read your horoscope or you read your chart. So I don't know if either of you are more familiar with astrology than I am, but what did that, how did you feel about that?
Typically, when you do a tarot reading, right, you ask a question, and here we lay out the cards. The cards are going to tell you what the answer is. How she was doing it was she kept asking him, so you are an Aquarius, and this is who you are. So this is what the cards are saying, but based on who you are as an Aquarius and the card layout, this is what I think that is saying, because I haven't seen tarot done like that before. Usually all of those pieces are like separate, right? Oh, you're this, so you have these particular characteristics, or your charts is going to tell you kind of what you can expect throughout the year, and then tarot is used to just like answer questions. So maybe that's what they meant of it all being together, and I'd never seen that done or portrayed before.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, with the 12 cards for each of the zodiacs.
Yeah.
I also had never seen that done, and I thought maybe that it was made up for the movie, but do you guys know if that is a real thing?
Yeah, I've never seen it before. So I thought the same. I thought as well as I'm such a brat. So when she started doing that, like, you're a Libra, so blah, 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 and the card. And I was like, this is not how you do it. But now you're putting because I didn't think that, Saleema, when they mentioned that, the most powerful divination, I didn't really know what they were talking about, but you brought it up just now. And so it kind of put it all together. I wonder, I don't know if it's.
Yeah, we'll have to look that up. But I did like this way of doing things. I thought that was really fun. And I liked, even if it was just made up for the movie, I liked this thought process of like, if you combine these two things, then it becomes a more powerful divination tool. That was cool.
Agreed.
Saleema, when she was going through the different cards and saying what they meant, did you recognize that as being accurate for the most part?
Yeah, for the most part, based on my research. And I only include a handful of cards in my book. So those were the ones that I really took a deep dive into, and I don't want to give too much away, but I do include, the Hanged Man. And yeah, I think that was really creative. I really loved the way that was incorporated into the story. I think they did a good job.
Yeah, I think so too.
It was fun. It kind of reminded me of it is kind of like silly at times in a way, but like I think that's the fun of it. And it reminded me of Thanksgiving, which I think is still on Netflix right now. I was like, I wonder if people, I don't know, just didn't watch this movie through that same lens, or think that it was like taking itself a little bit too seriously when I don't think it was. It was a fun movie.
To clarify, you mean Thanksgiving, the horror movie?
Yes, okay. That's right.
First you said, it reminded me of Thanksgiving. I'm like, oh, I want to go to your house for Thanksgiving.
Sorry. Yeah, I should have clarified. I was talking about the movie that came out last year.
And I really loved the underlying theme and the idea of fate that was brought up a lot. I think that was one of the big reasons why I can't stop thinking about this movie, is that they talked about how you can't change fate. And I know we talked a little bit about agency, but I wrote down a couple of the quotes because Haley says, whatever happened was going to happen. And then Paige, this is when they're grieving the first killing. Paige says, we don't have control over our own lives. And that really hit me.
Yeah. I thought about this a lot too. Especially my mom and those annual charts she does, made me think of this too. And so the ending of the movie, at first when I saw it, I'm going to be honest, and it is tying into what you were talking about, Saleema, I was disappointed because I wanted it to be fate. I wanted it to be that twist of, this guy is not alive. Maybe this is a trickster spirit, and the spirit is going to get both of those people. And they were just all fine, and they got in the car, and I didn't love that. But then my husband, he was watching it with me, and he said, yeah, but he had a really good memory. He was like, remember when that one guy got his cards read, and he was going to rescue his friends or he's going to be there for his friends in a surprising way, and that he was going to, one door closes, another one opens. And I was like, all right, Steve, geez, you remembered all of this. And I suppose with the other two as well, there wasn't really, because they said it over and over again, death could be a change, right? A new beginning or a new change, or it could mean death. So since she got death, it wasn't necessarily meaning she was going to be killed by that thing. But that's the thing, though. All of that was supposed to happen. It was fate. So it's like, did she really change the fate by coming up and doing a card, which I loved this, doing the card reading for the spirit? Or was that what was going to happen? Or, and I'll say one last thing, typically my mom has told me when doing astrology that these are the possibilities of what could happen, but you still have the opportunity to adjust it based on your response. So it could go this way. It could be very bad, or it could go this way. It just depends on what you decide to do.
That's super interesting. I did not consider that, because I did just think at the end of the movie that she did, they were able to like beat fate basically. But that's a great question. Like, did they beat fate, or did she just misread the cards? And this was actually what was supposed to happen all along. Like, that's really interesting. I guess the one thing in the movie that we have working against that is that we know everyone who had their cards read died. And at this point, now no one is going to die. But I don't know.
Well, maybe that was the fate, though, of the cards to end this way, or else there wouldn't be an ending. There wouldn't be a way to stop it if that, wasn't in the stars to do that. That one lady was searching for those cards so that she could, stop the curse. So maybe this girl, and they went to this house, and
she didn't do shit. She tried, but she couldn't. Yeah. I was like, oh no, she just immediately got possessed.
Like, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved that last scene with the astrologer when oh my gosh. Wait, let me refer to my notes. So when she is basically vanquishing the astrologer at the end, which, I agree. Was that written in the cards for her? Because I was thinking about Grant. Grant had to make a big sacrifice. That was his his card was the devil. So he had to make a big sacrifice, which in the end he ended up doing. I thought he was going to be sacrificed. That was what my expectation was. But he did make a big sacrifice.
Yeah, like he didn't die, but he did sacrifice himself, knowing that it was a potential that he could die. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that part.
Yeah, so I agree. I mean, I think that I love what you said, Miriam, about how this is written in fate, and that was their fate. But the scene, backtracking, the scene with the astrologer where they were vanquishing her, where Haley was. She said, in readings, the death card can mean the end of something or the start of something new. But in your case, it just means death. So that's what she said. I want to read you a line from my book. I thought was so clever. So in the prologue, we find out that there is a child who has died. You find out at the very beginning. So throughout the story, it flashes back. It's dual timeline. So it flashes back from the present day, 2024, to their childhood in 2004. And they have so many fun, nostalgic things. I loved putting in like Etch-a-Sketch and Tamagotchis and their, J14 magazine and things. Stuff from my childhood.
I fucking forgot about J14 entirely. Okay.
It's in there.
Wow.
So anyway, and throughout the whole story, you're kind of trying to figure out which of the children dies and how and what happens. But in the last sentence of my prologue, last two sentences, in one moment, her full rosebud lips were animated with laughter, and in the next, they turned blue, her final breath still lingering by the time I reached her. Yet I already knew, for her, there was no other interpretation for death. Because I talk about how the meanings behind the symbols are all open to interpretation based on your gut feeling. And that's what readings kind of are fueled by, this like other sense.
Yeah.
Ooh,
wow.
I love that.
Yeah. It felt very, as soon as she said that, I was like, hey, I thought that was being so original. But yeah.
No, I think that's like, it's like similar,
So
but yeah, definitely different from the line in the movie for sure.
And beautifully said. I got cold chills. I love it. I can't wait to read that book. I loved it.
That's amazing.
I have something to say about that, though, when she said in the movie that for you, there was no other meaning than death, or what you had just shared in your notes. But I don't know that was necessarily true, because after the spirit, the astrologer died, quote unquote, there's a scene of her not tiptoeing, skipping, walking with her daughter out. It was a very beautiful, I thought this was actually maybe, it was something new. It was a new life for her with her daughter. She was released from this anger and anguish and revenge, and now she's with her daughter. So maybe it was, I don't know.
Yeah, I think you could read it a lot of different ways. Like I was thinking when you were saying that earlier about it, maybe not meaning death and that was the fate. I was wondering if it is the new beginning of what the astrologers, like next chapter, being able to move on. Or it could be also just the end of this chapter of these cards doing its like death curse too, I think, which is fun. I like that it's kind of open for interpretation. One other thing that I just want to add to this, as we're kind of talking about the end scene, I did really like how the Haley, our main character, had lost her mother earlier. Like, I don't remember how long ago it is, a couple years maybe at this point, but a couple years ago. And I really liked the kind of duality of the astrologer who had lost her daughter and then Haley who had lost her mother. And that moment right at the end where they were like holding hands, and I was like, oh yeah, this is like very good. I like how this came together, because it was like these two people helping each other move on as the inverse of their situations.
Oh, Tawny, I loved that. I didn't even think about that. And I feel like that just reinforces that this was meant to happen.
Yeah, I agree.
With these two people.
Yeah, and that's why like the woman who had been searching, it like wasn't her who was going to end up doing this, even though she wanted to do it as revenge.
She did help them, though. Yeah. She let them know she let Haley, right?
Yeah.
Know what she needed to do to complete her part of this destiny.
But ultimately, she couldn't be the one, probably because it wasn't her fate.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
We figured it out.
Like that. I think maybe there's this or that. And I can see with what Saleema brought up in the very beginning of how it is more powerful of a reading where you have, this is who I am as an Aquarius, and now here's the reading. Who I am, or my natural instincts are really going to pull me in one direction. Like that one girl, you run away from everything. She was like, oh, hell yeah, I do that. And then as soon as there was danger, she books it. You're like, no, don't run. But that's who she is. And to fight that, or even like our friend who was stubborn as a bull, right?
Yeah.
He knew, and he was bought into the whole thing too. He was bought into it, and he still was like, oh, shut up, you guys are dumb. And he left because that's who he is. And it's like so much, that is hard to go against your natural instincts and who you are as a person.
Yeah.
If you do, you can, create some new paths for yourself, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Because I was thinking about the character development throughout the story too. And that scene where she just got out of the car and ran. I just kept thinking, well, do they have agency? Like, do these characters? But you're right. It is her instinct. And so, yeah, she had a choice and she made it. That's just, I always think about character agency as I'm writing too. So I was thinking about these characters. I feel like the character development could have been better. I feel like the only character that I really felt super attached to, that I really cared for, was Paxton.
Okay.
But I do like that. Yeah, they all have their nature, and it's the astrology and the tarot combined makes it so much more powerful.
Yeah. I did like Paxton. I liked Haley too, just as our main character. I mean, we just get more of a window into her life than we do the other ones, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Like, I didn't feel a lot for everybody else. Like when they were dying, the only death that I was really sort of like, oh, that's terrible, it was Paige's at the end when she's getting sawed in half. Something about that one really, I was like, oh God, this is a really bad way to go.
Mm-hmm.
That one to me was the worst.
She's a good actress too.
Yeah.
So she was so terrified. So I felt terrified. I thought she did a really good job.
Yeah.
Ooh, what creepy characters. I just wanted more of the creepy tarot people, just a little more of it. I don't know how to do it, but.
Yeah, it's rare we're watching a movie and we're like, show me more of that. But they were scary. Like, I really liked their look.
How about that jester, joker fool who was walking back and forth waiting for him to exit?
Yeah, that was funny.
Ooh, and when he did the like contortionist thing out when he first saw him at the beginning, and the sound when he's spine. Ugh.
Yeah. That was gross.
So much.
I did one of my notes of trivia just was that the tarot deck used in the movie was specifically created for it. So they must have like had an idea of what they wanted these monsters to look like in reality, and then sort of worked backwards from there. Or I guess it could be vice versa. Maybe they had the deck created first and then created the actual monsters. But either way, I really like how all of that came together. The deck is creepy looking. They're scary looking. It's fun.
The deck is beautiful. I would like to have it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do anything with it. I just want to have it. It's so pretty.
They should sell them. I feel like that would be good merch.
Yeah.
Miriam, had you heard before that you shouldn't use other people's decks? Is that something new, or I'd never heard that before?
Yes. So your deck has your energy in it. And so when you first get a deck, and I'm sure you know this, but I'm just going to say, for not everybody knows this, you should like hold it and you should cleanse it and you should put, just your energy into it. As you do more and more readings, your energy is in this deck. So then your readings become more and more accurate because after you use it over time. So when I got that new deck, Saleema and I were on a writing retreat in Colorado, and I got this really beautiful Seasons of the Witch Oracle deck, and it's so pretty and shimmery. And when I was using it, I was noticing there was a little bit of a struggle with the deck communicating to me the message, where when I use this one, boom, it's spot on. And then my mom came to visit, and I was showing it to her, and she's like, ooh, I would like to do a reading with this. And as she was doing the cards, I just felt this ping. You should give that deck to your mom. Or actually the deck was sitting there and I felt you should have your mom use this deck. And so I was like, here, mom, use this deck. And then as she was using it, I was like, this deck was meant for my mom is just what came to my head. And the reading she got was like spot on, just like so fantastic. She was so happy. I'm like, the deck is yours. But anyways, that is like the decks find the person. And then also as you're using it, there's more and more energy into it. So if my mom used my deck here for a reading, it could come out accurate, but it might come out with a little bit more of me in the message. Also, when your emotions could come out into the deck. So if you are really stressed out and you want to do a reading, it might come out looking really bad, but it's just because of your emotions. So fast forward to this movie, if you have this and what she did to put into that deck, it is it's really gonna, well, this specifically, there was a curse in it and she wanted, but yeah. I don't think it's that you can't use it, but you got to kind of flush the energy. So I know, I'll say one last thing. When my mom used to do readings for other people, there was a deck that she used for them. She did not give her personal deck for people to pull cards from. She had a deck for other people to use when she was doing readings.
Interesting.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like if I used your deck, you're a lovely person. Nothing bad is gonna happen to me. It's just you're gonna get some of my energy in it. And so if it's something that you use all the time, you probably don't. You just want to keep it for yourself.
Yeah, I have read about people sleeping with the deck under their pillow or under their bed for, extended periods of time before using it. So maybe just to get your energy in it.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I had never heard that, but when I got that everyone's going to think I'm nuts, but except for you two. When I got that Seasons of the Witch Oracle deck, I felt a pull to sleep with it. And I did. I actually I've never done this. I put it under my pillow and I slept with it. And
Weird.
I just do whatever my intuition tells me to do. I just don't question it. So that's what I did. Oh, I wonder. Okay.
Wow.
So, that just tripped me out when you said that, because I didn't know that people did that, but I felt like taking it to bed. So I did.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah, okay. I mean, did everyone really like the ending? I mean, I became okay with it after Steve explained everything to me. But I didn't want that guy to die. Was that Paxton, the one with I really liked him. And I was like, oh my God. I was screaming at him when he was in the elevator. I'm like, one door closes, another one opens, another one. Look around. There's got to be a door. Like I really wanted him to get away. And I don't know, just his friend, it was funny that he was on the floor when his friend arrived, but I don't know. I felt it was a little bit of a cheat. I felt like I wanted there to be something more, like when the fool was walking around, I was scanning the hallway. Is that a door? Should you run to that door? Run to that door because that door looks open. Like I just wanted there to be more, but.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that was, I love that it was unexpected. And I loved that he ended up being there to save his friends, especially since that was within his reading. But they could have done a lot more with the elevator. I wrote a short story about a character stuck and trapped in an elevator. And so it was for an anthology, and the theme was isolated locations. And I thought, what is the scariest place that I could be trapped? And for me, it would be in an elevator, but like where there's people in the building, everyone's around you, but nobody knows that you're there, and nobody can reach you for help, or you can't reach them. So I feel like I wasn't as panicked with him in the elevator during the movie as I feel like we could have been.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like they didn't make full use of that. Whereas, like, in contrast, the car, like, I definitely think they made full use of the car with the beeping around it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that thing. Oh, God, that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hanging her. That was great.
But the end didn't bother me a whole lot. Like, I definitely expected everyone to die, or maybe all but Haley. And so it was kind of nice. Like, I don't mind a bleak ending. In fact, I think we tend to like those a lot. But it was kind of nice to have a not bleak ending, I guess. I mean, fucking how many people? Like 4 out of their 7 friend group died. So it's still a lot.
But there was that little teaser. It was almost like a twist when they saw the car. And I feel like there was a moment of, wait, who is this? And are we about to die? And I thought they were going to die.
Yeah. And then when it was him, I thought it was a trick. And then I did like this. I thought it was a trick because they get in and I'm like, how did he get away? No, how did he get away? And then they just kept talking and I was waiting for... And I was trying to scan my brain for like, okay, what was their reading again? What was their reading again? Right? Like I wanted to figure it out. And they were just chatting. And it seemed like he was going to be fine. And I looked at Steve and I went, but how did he get away? And all of a sudden the credits went, and they went, how did you get away? And I was like, oh shit. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. That was satisfying, but
because his was the fool. And so, yeah, it totally could have been like a trickster in his body or manipulating them. Yeah.
That was just me. I was like, oh, they're all going to get killed. Ah!
Yeah.
Trust no one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because I was really sitting there like, I don't like that. I think they should have made you feel like, ooh, they changed fate. No, they didn't. That's what I was hoping. But maybe that is what happened based on, I won't rehash it all, our conversation on maybe that was their fate. Mm-hmm. It was exactly what happened.
Random question, but I thought of this earlier, forgot, and then it just came back to me. Let's talk our signs. I don't know much about them, but Saleema, what's your zodiac sign?
I am a Sagittarius.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know what that means. Do you know what it means?
Fire. It doesn't always align with me just because I have OCD and anxiety, and Sagittarius feels very spontaneous and carefree, and that does not feel like me. But I do have a Virgo moon, which is more, your moon sign is what you feel inside or kind of who you are. And then your rising sign, sun sign, I can't remember what the main
rising
one.
Sun.
Rising is what you exhibit to others on the outside. So I guess that makes sense. Sagittarius, fire, outwardly, extroverted, spontaneous. And then inside I'm like meticulous and organized, and Virgo, like very, regimented, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah, like
what
that.
are you, me?
I am an Aquarius. We both are, Miriam and I, because our birthdays are 1 day apart. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Aquarius, so creative and caring and all that, but also on the flip side could seem aloof, right? And people can because of the way we are, misunderstand who we are. Kind of like think like we don't really, not that we don't care, but my words aren't coming to me, but kind of like unapproachable.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're not really, but we kind of seem that way.
Yeah.
And then all those things you had mentioned, I do have them on a report somewhere that my mom sent me, but I don't remember what my things are, my sun and my moons.
I don't know a whole lot about it, but it's interesting to me to like look it up and read people's, general things. And I only really know mine and my partner Jade's, because he's a Taurus and he is stubborn. So when they were talking in the movie about like Tauruses being stubborn, I was like, yeah, yes.
My daughter, my oldest daughter is a Taurus. My husband is a Cancer. My middle daughter is an Aquarius. And my littlest one, she is a Capricorn, but she's on the cusp of Capricorn and Aquarius. So.
Oh, Aquarius is an air sign?
Yes.
Yes. Sorry, I always confuse it as a water sign because
I
it's the
know.
person pouring out the water. Like,
Yeah.
that really was stupid. Like, can we have a different... We want to make it a little more clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, air sign. Yeah, that was a good
Interesting.
question. I should have looked up a little bit more. I don't even know if I explained this very correctly, but...
Yeah, I think you did a good job. At least I never like remember, but whenever I read through the list, you know, when I look it up, I'm like, yeah, that's fucking me. You know, or like same with Jade. I'm all, yeah, that's you. For the most part.
Yes. Let's see. Okay, Aquarians are known for their unique perspective, original ideas, and inventive approach to life. We're humanitarian, we're progressive, we're independent, but the independent can make people feel like they can't get close to us as well. We like to be intellectuals. Sometimes we're unpredictable. Ugh, we're a little bit moody. Sometimes we have all of our emotions all at once. We can be social, but are unlikely to participate in social interactions unless they want to. Yes. And empathetic. So there we go.
Okay. Read Saleema's Sagittarius.
Okay. So adventurous, optimistic. Let's see. You believe the world is full of possibilities. You're direct and truthful, honest, curious. You like knowledge, culture, politics, social justice. You're philosophical. You like to think rather than feel. You're fun-loving. You're amused, and you're in good spirits. You're independent, and you are not willing to compromise on things they didn't plan or agree to. Yes.
Girl. Yes.
Sorry, there was one. Does that sound kind of
Yeah.
some things? Okay.
I feel like that sounds like the person that I aspire to be.
I'm not taking your bullshit. I'm happy when I want to be. I love it.
I like that we were all independent. 3 independent bitches right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the way to be. I will say my last thing is that it was a great soundtrack. I was having fun.
Oh yeah, actually I'm glad you said that because I did make a note and I forgot about it. I really liked how they used the relevant music. Like everybody plays the fool in the elevator. And there was another one at the end too that I was like, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. All right. Well, if we don't have any more, do you think that we should rate it?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's rate this bad boy. So Saleema, let's start with you again as our guest. What would you rate this movie?
I give this movie a 3.65.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh, great score.
6.5. Yeah. Love that.
All right. So why?
Why? I think that the more we talked about it and more we talked about the theme of fate, that has just kind of left me thinking about this movie. And I feel like I'll keep thinking about it for a while. So for me, that feels like kind of the leaderboard and why I rate things, why I would rate things more highly than others is whether it sticks with me and I keep thinking about it. And I just keep thinking about that. Like you can't change fate. So that plus the cinematography was beautiful. I think that the actors were good. I wish there was more character development. But yeah, overall it was good. Really good.
Miriam, what are you going to rate this?
All right. I am going to rate it a 3.3. I was looking at all my 3.25s and I enjoyed this one more than those particular movies. So yeah, but then of course some of my 3.4s and above, not sure about that, but I did have a fun time. I absolutely loved the monsters. They're so beautiful. And for all the reasons I talked about, with all of you today, I love the story. I was going to say all the reasons, that's why. So let me tell you again. No, I'm just kidding. The story with the mom, all of that. I had a really fun time with it. And then after our conversation, I liked it even more. So 3.3 for me.
Okay. I feel like that's a fair score. I came into the conversation feeling like I was going to start at like a 3, but definitely I've been talked up as well as we've kind of talked through it because I too like the theme of fate, but I also like the additional thing, you know, kind of how we wove this story together. I like the story. I like the art direction, the cinematography, the lighting, all of that. And I also like how we, in the end, sort of had those two characters juxtaposed with what they had gone through in life and their loss and grief and sort of being able to help each other move forward. Like, I actually think maybe people didn't give this movie as much of a chance. And I think there are some, you know, it's not perfect. There are some not great parts. I feel like some of the dialogue was definitely cheesy and overwrought. And, you know, I can't believe how many times they said, we're dying like our horoscopes. Like, I was like, I fucking get it. Like, I don't need you to tell me like every single time. Like when he calls him, I think it was Paxton. He calls his friend. He's like, my horoscope is coming true. I was like, dude, yeah, we're here. We're in the movie. So we don't need that. But aside from all that, like I really enjoyed it. And so I'm going to give it a 3.5.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, 3.5 is pretty good for me.
That's really good for Tawny. Whoa.
Yeah, I really in the end enjoyed it. And I made a note here just because I remembered when we were talking about scores, I said, there's something that this movie reminds me of, but I cannot put my finger on it. And I remembered it. The lighting is especially, but also kind of like the tone and the vibe reminded me of Hysteria, which is on Peacock. And it's a brand new show that came out this year. And it has like a fun vibe that reminds me of Grady Hendrix. And Saleema, have you read any Grady Hendrix?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I feel like this might be right up your alley because something about all of this like coming together is sort of, I don't know, making sense to me. But Hysteria and the Evil Dead TV show have like a very similar like lighting and cinematography thing, and it's just fun and shiny and poppy, like I said earlier, and I like all that. But sorry, to go back to Grady Hendrix, I feel like that's his tone and vibe too. It's like this nostalgia piece mixed with actual scary things, but also very like heartfelt and warm. So I would highly recommend the book My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. And I've only read a couple of his books, but that one is by far my favorite of the ones that I've read.
Not the movie. Do not watch the movie.
But don't watch the movie because it was fucking bad. But great book. And something about just your, like, I also read your, you have a little post on your social media that said something about your book that's like glitter with blood. And please correct me if I'm like butchering that. But I was like, that is definitely like a Grady Hendrix vibe. And it also reminds me of The Neon Demon. Have you seen that?
Oh, I was just going to say when you said glitter and blood. Sorry.
Yeah.
No. Okay. I need to put these all on my list.
Yeah. The Neon Demon is not the best like story of a movie ever, but it's like, it's visually very interesting. It's got some just really cool stuff in it. So.
Is this would also be like Freaky and Tragedy Girls, this type of
I think so.
You're talking about?
Okay. I did look at Tragedy Girls when I was rating, but I especially love Tragedy Girls. But I gave that a 3.9, so it is close to that.
Shoot, yeah, I gave it a 3, so I apparently liked this more. Huh?
Wow,
look at that by 0.3. There we go.
Anyway,
I would have rated it a lot higher if I was relentless. If it was relentless with the tarot monsters, just more. So good.
Yes, that part was really fun.
All right. Well, sorry, I totally took over for you, Tawny, but I'm just going to go for it because I'm just going to keep going.
You did, yeah. Go ahead.
This was so much fun. Thank you so much, Saleema, for being with us. Please share with the audience, where can they find you? When's your book being released again? Just
and where and how people can get it.
And help it. Yes, see, Tawny, you would have done better, but I took it over. So yes, tell us all the things.
That was perfect. So I'm most active on Instagram. You can find me there. Send me a DM. And I just love creating reels. That's my jam. And my book comes out December 12th, and you can get it anywhere you can get books. You can pre-order it in paperback, ebook. I will hopefully have signed copies available soon. I'm just trying to figure out the logistics, but yeah.
What about Kindle? Can you do it like just buy an ebook and put it on Kindle?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you have some launch events coming up, right? Virtual launch events and things like that.
Yeah, I do. Thank you. So I have a virtual launch event the evening of the 12th. That's a Thursday. And we're going to play some tarot trivia, some fun trivia about the book, trivia about me as an author. And I'll be doing some giveaways and a reading as well. So that's going to be a fun Zoom. It's going to be on Zoom. A fun Zoom event. And then for those that are local to Albuquerque, I have a couple of events here as well.
Fun.
So fun. Go follow Saleema. What is your Instagram handle?
At Saleema Ishq.
At Saleema Ishq. Go check it out because I've seen all of your things being posted there with dates and all kinds of great stuff. So, so exciting.
Yeah. And we'll put, we'll do like a little, what am I trying to say?
We'll put it in the description. We'll put it in the show notes. We'll put it in. Yeah. Right, we'll link all the things. We'll link your book inside of our link in bio, all the things.
We'll have an easy way to access.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. This was so fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us and picking such an amazing, I love how all of this came together. Your so book. Perfect. The movie, the mood, the vibe. I loved it.
It was fate because I'm going to tell you, if I would have watched this movie probably without this conversation, without the context of your book and knowledge and all of that, I think it would have been a different experience. I think I still would have had some fun, but this made it all the much better for sure.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
Agreed. Yes. Thank you again, Saleema. That was just such a blast and so fun getting to know you. And I am so excited for your book.
She's the best. The best.
Yeah.
Loving, just a really good person. Great energy. Okay, I'll shut up now.
Okay. Just one last thing from me. So to remember to go to magicmind.com if you want to get your hands on some mental performance chats. And that is magicmind.com/chicks20 for 20% off of a one-time purchase or 48% off of your first subscription order for the next 10 days.
And if you've seen tarot, please do share your favorite scenes, quotes, or theories on social media using the hashtag 2chicksandahorrorflick. And while you're there, please do give us a follow. And what else, Tawny?
That's it. So we will see you next time, and we hope you have such a good night. No nightmares.